Welcome, Mamine, welcome, Herman W, welcome, Jax, welcome, Joseph Kitaho, welcome. My name is Dr. Dieter, coming to you today on TikTok Live, and today's topic of conversation is going to be the gut. We're going to talk about how you can heal your gut and reclaim your health. Heal your gut and reclaim your health. So welcome. My name is Dr. Dieter. I'm a board certified internist and a board certified pediatrician. Hold double board certifications in those two fields, making it my lifelong mission to educate people about practical things they can do to reclaim their health. So if you're joining us today, Sasi, welcome. Veli, welcome. Hajia, welcome. Yamolala, welcome. Our topic of conversation today is going to be the gut. Heal your gut and reclaim your health. Heal your gut and reclaim your health. Many of you may not know it, but our gut holds the key to a lot of the diseases we face. Our gut holds the key to many of the illnesses we have. So welcome. I'm just gonna let people trickle in and welcome them. We're going to go back and forth. The topic of today's live talk: heal your gut and reclaim your health. You may not know it, but your gut holds the key to many of the diseases that we face today in modern society. What we eat influences the health of our gut, and the health or the unhealth of our gut results in diseases and symptoms. So if you can heal your gut, you can reclaim your health. So today I'm gonna teach about the gut, what it does, and then at the end I'm going to give you two approaches. I'm going to teach on two approaches that you could use to heal the gut, and I want you to commit to one thing to heal your gut. The two approaches we'll talk about at the end will be just a simple, natural lifestyle approach, just some changes you can do in your life, a lifestyle approach to heal your gut. And on the other hand, I'll give you another approach, a nutraceutical approach. So welcome. As I said, just as I usually do, we're gonna go back and forth from this view where I'm doing a teaching on the board to the other view, and I'm gonna turn back over now and welcome you. Welcome. You are welcome to today's topic of conversation. We're talking about the gut. So if you're joining us from, let's start by welcoming our international audience. Maybe you're joining from Canada, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Mexico, United States, Puerto Rico. Welcome. Topic of today's conversation: heal your gut, reclaim your health. Heal your gut, reclaim your health. If you're joining us from Europe, maybe you're in Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Estonia, Denmark, France, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Turkey, United Kingdom, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Republic of Ireland, Romania, Slovenia, Slovakia, Spain, Sweden. Welcome. Topic of our conversation today is our gut. You heal your gut, you reclaim your health. Many of the diseases that we face today, about maybe 40 or 50% of today's diseases we face today, or even more, are related to our gut. So welcome if you're joining us. Kimberly Brown, welcome. Adus, welcome. Shari, welcome. Calvin, welcome. If you're joining us from the Asian Pacific, maybe you're in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Philippines, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, People's Republic of China, you are welcome. Heal your gut, reclaim your health. D, welcome. Derek Fosbo, welcome. Malika, welcome. Nala, welcome. We're going to be talking today about the gut. My name is Dr. Dieter. I hold board certifications in 2 fields. I'm a board certified internist and a board certified pediatrician, and have made it my mission now to begin educating people, on simple lifestyle things that they can do to be able to reclaim their health. So today's topic of conversation, we're going to be talking about how you can heal your gut and reclaim your health. If you're joining us from the Middle East, maybe you're joining from Egypt, Jordan, Kuwait, Morocco, Oman, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, you are welcome. Now to my US audience, feel free to drop a comment in the chat when you hear me sound out your state. I am doing this live from Fort Worth, Texas, the Lone Star State. The state that always threatens to break away from the union but never does. So if you're joining me from Texas, drop a shout out Texas in the chat. So if you're on the south, maybe Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Delaware, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Virginia, West Virginia, the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia in the house, woohoo! Pari Bowler from Toronto, welcome. Maybe Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Maryland. If you're joining from North Carolina, please drop a shout out. I lived in North Carolina from 2010 to 2021, 11 years in North Carolina. Oregon in the house, welcome. So if you're joining from the West Coast, maybe you're in Oregon, maybe Washington State, maybe Hawaii, California, Utah, Wyoming, New Mexico, Montana, Colorado, Arizona, Idaho, my people from the West Coast, welcome. What about the Northeast? Maybe you're joining from Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, welcome. Topic of today's conversation, we will be talking about the gut and how the gut holds the key to many chronic medical issues and symptoms that we face, and how when you heal your gut, you can get a respite from these symptoms. These symptoms can even improve and in many cases go away. Lastly, I'm sure my people in the Midwest may think I've forgotten about them. Nah, my people from South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, Minnesota, Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, I want to welcome you guys to today's talk. We will be talking about the gut, how our gut influences the diseases that we have today. You may not know it, but your gut, think about your gut like a garden, okay? Your gut, think about it like a garden, okay? What has to happen for a garden to be healthy? The soil has to be healthy, right? So you think about your gut as a garden. When the soil of that garden is healthy, plants thrive, crops prop up. But when the soil is not healthy, when weeds take over, you begin to develop, weeds take over when the soil is not healthy. Those weeds are now like symptoms like craving, symptoms like brain fog, or even diseases like anxiety, depression, autoimmune diseases. That's when the soil of your gut is not healthy. So I'm gonna teach us today, 2 ways to be able to restore the gut health. But how did we get here? That's the question first. How did we get from a place of unhealthy gut, from a healthy gut to an unhealthy gut? Let me start by telling you guys this story. How many of you guys are joining us by any chance from Tanzania? If you're in East Africa, close to Kilimanjaro, anywhere you're joining from Tanzania, please drop a comment in the chat. Or if you're not in Tanzania, but somewhere near East Africa. So I bring up Tanzania for this reason. A Dutch scientist recently did a study in Tanzania. And this Dutch scientist is an infectious disease doctor who has been working in Tanzania for about 20 years back and forth. And what he did was he went back to Tanzania recently. When he went back to Tanzania recently after, research back and forth 20 years ago, he realized something. It's like, wow, when I was in Tanzania 20 years ago doing research on diseases, the diseases that plagued people in Tanzania at the time were the infectious diseases, the malaria, the tuberculosis, the typhoid, the cholera. So infectious diseases were the number one killers at the time, 20 years ago, when he was doing some science work in Tanzania. Okay? Then what happened, when he went back this year, he realized things have changed. It is no longer infectious diseases being the number one killers of people in Tanzania. What he realized was that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, autoimmune diseases, those had now replaced the infectious diseases and were now the top killers, or top diseases that people had that were killing them. And he was perplexed, like, what has happened in this 20-year period where 20 years ago, the predominant diseases that were killing people were infectious diseases. I never saw the diabetes. I never saw the cholesterol. I never saw the sleep apnea. I never saw the anxiety, the depression. But now, fast forward 20 years, and what has replaced this is all these diseases, the diabetes, the blood pressure, and he postulated, it's like, it could only be the food. That was Tracy Meeker said the food. You are right on the money. And this is what the scientists realized. He realized that, Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the one of the tallest mountains in the world, is located in Tanzania. He realized that the natives who lived, in the rural area at the foot of Kilimanjaro, none of the natives had these problems. None of the natives were overweight. None of the natives had diabetes, had high blood pressure, had high cholesterol. But all the people who lived in the city had this problem. So he was like, wow. 20 years ago, this stuff was not there. It was infectious disease. Now we have all of this, the obesity, the diabetes. But wait a minute. In the same country, in Tanzania, the people living in the rural area, the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro, do not have all of these illnesses, whereas the people living in the city have it. What is going on? And he postulated that it has to be the food, because the people in the village area, in the rural area, ate natural foods that were not processed, 100% animal and plant-based, very not processed, natural foods. Whereas the people in the cities, were inundated with eating all the processed foods. So this is what the scientists did. He decided to take a group of people from the city in Tanzania, right? And relocate them to the village for 2 weeks, and feed them village food, and feed them just foods that the locals ate. And then he did the opposite. He decided to take the people from the rural area at the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro, and he took them to the city, relocated them to the city, and for 2 weeks he fed them only city food. Do you know what he found? What he found was amazing. he found that the people who he had taken from the city, who were used to eating all the city foods, the processed foods, the 2 weeks that he relocated them, to the rural area and fed them only whole foods, only the natural foods in that locality, with no processed foods. What he realized is that their inflammation numbers, their inflammation markers went from this level to this level. A significant drop in the level of inflammation. Tested their blood work, and saw that the people in the city who now were transferred to the village or to the rural areas had a drop in their level of inflammation from right here to right here. Also found out that during that time, their blood sugars went from here to right here. The opposite happened for the people for the people that he took from the rural areas. So the natives who he took from the foot of Kilimanjaro and transitioned them to the city for 2 weeks and fed them only city foods, only processed foods, the level of inflammation in their body went from low to high in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, guys, that switch caused a decrease in inflammation for the people who had been consuming processed foods in the city, an increase in inflammation for the people who had initially been consuming the normal rural foods. So the point I'm trying to make with this story is that our foods are killing us. Our foods are killing us. If you agree with me that our foods today, are one of the number one reasons why we have health issues, drop a comment in the chat, agree. Somebody asked, how does one eliminate inflammation unfit? How does one eliminate inflammation unfit? I will discuss that here. This topic, the question you asked about how one eliminates inflammation on the feet, you have to go to the root cause. You have to go to the, yes, it's very concerning. It's very concerning. And Fernando, about your inflammation on the feet, these things that I'm going to be talking about today will directly deal with your inflammation and will bring your inflammatory levels down. Our foods are killing us, guys. And our foods determine how the soil of our gut is. Remember, I told you, your soil is like a garden. When the soil is thriving, things prop out, crops prop out. But when the soil is sick, then you have all the symptoms, the inflammation, the diabetes, the high blood pressure, the obesity, and what have you. So we need to start pivoting in the foods that we put into our body. Now, I want to put up this picture right here and show you our gut. In our gut, we have bacteria that resides in our gut. I'm going to flip over. There are about 30 to 100 trillion bacteria that reside in our gut. Okay, in our gut we have 30 to 100 trillion bacteria. 30 to 100 trillion bacteria that are home to our gut. They reside in our gut. I'll show you a picture just briefly, but this is how your gut looks like. This is how your gut looks like, okay? And then I want you to think of, I'm going to do these annotations. I want you to think of all this mass in here. All those marks in there Those represent the 30 to 100 trillion bacteria that reside in our gut. They play a very, very important function in our gut, a very important function. And these 30 to 100 trillion bacteria that reside in our gut, we have a special name for it. The special name for this bacteria is called the microbiome. Okay? Microbiome. The special name for this bacteria population is called the microbiome. You may be wondering, why in the heck do we have bacteria in our gut? Well, God, our creator, was very intelligent. God doesn't do anything without a purpose. He created us beautifully and intentionally. Everything working in sync. Everything that he created in our body and structures has a reason. And there is a big reason why God created us and loaded our colon with 30 to 100 trillion bacteria. So these bacteria, we're supposed to live in what we call a symbiotic relationship with this bacteria. What you say, do for me, I do for you, like a quid quo pro, okay? So we're supposed to do some things that will benefit the bacteria, and the bacteria are supposed to do things that will benefit us. The thing that we do to benefit the bacteria is we're housing them in our gut, right? So we provide a home for them. What we do for them, we provide a home for them, shelter. And the second thing that we do for them, we provide them chow, food. So we have to live in a do for you, I do for me, or scratch my back, I scratch your situation. So we them residing in our gut, a home for them, and we provide food for them. Now you may ask then, Doc, what then do they do for us? Well, they do some very important things, and I'm going to put up a diagram up so that you can see what those bacteria in turn do for us. Okay. Okay, so right here is a diagram of all the what you see above. If you see right there where I put that above, it's a diagram of all the functions that the microbiome does for us. Okay, I am going to just go through each of them to try to explain. Okay, all the functions that the microbiome does for us. So the very first one up there that you see, is that they help to digest fiber. So this 30 to 100 trillion bacteria that reside in our gut, the very first thing that they do, they help us to digest fiber. Fiber is one of those spatial, so the functions of the microbiome, just put that down here, let's see. Our functions of the microbiome. Number one, it helps to digest fiber. You can see that on the left upper of the screen. Now, fiber is one of those carbohydrates that it's not digested by man. Okay, we do not have. It's an essential nutrient, but despite the fact that fiber is an essential nutrient, Man doesn't have the enzymes to be able to digest fiber to obtain calories from it. Only the bacteria in the gut, only the microbiome, the bacteria in the gut has the enzymes to be able to digest the fiber. Only this bacteria. So it helps us that it helps to process, digest fiber. Now, the other thing, this right here also ties into one of the things that we are supposed to do for the microbiome. We provided shelter, we provided food. The food for the microbiome is fiber. Okay? The food for the microbiome is fiber. Fiber is food for the microbiome. So that's the first thing that the microbiome does. Helps us to digest fiber. Fiber is very important. I'll explain that shortly. The second thing that the microbiome does, it helps to protect you from pathogenic bacteria. Protect. Pathogenic just simply means disease-causing bacteria. So it helps to protect us from disease-causing bacteria. Protect from disease-causing bacteria. Okay, and it does this in a special way. Do you guys follow so far? I hope I'm not going too fast. If my pace is okay, give me a thumbs up, okay. If my pace is too fast, drop it too fast. If it's just okay, say okay. So it protects.
We listen to Freddie. Nah, we will not listen to Freddie because the park is so. It takes like 1 minute to get there. Like you just come there. Mama.
Yeah.
Like, don't the park is closed.
It's not closed. It's close.
The park is never closed. Yeah. Except on thunderstorms. Is it closed on thunderstorms?
Cells of the colon are bind together, cell to cell. This is one cell, this is another cell. Where my knuckles meet each other right there, think about this area right here as a tight junction, okay? So the short chain fatty acids go right here and maintain the tightness in this area. When the short chain fatty acids are produced by the microbiome, it comes to that area and causes that area to be tight, very tight like that, so that stuff doesn't leak out. That is how it helps to protect the gut from disease-causing bacteria.